Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This video is relatively simple, but it's also very important. What I'm looking to do today is to look at England's tax rate, so the income tax rate. When you work in England, you get your salary, how much tax gets taken off that salary, how is that calculated, who determines that. I'm going to show you in this video, go through the different brackets, how tax is calculated, how much you might be paying if you're working in England. This is relevant for the salaries up to 100,000. Let's get started. So in England, just like the rest of the UK, you have a tax-free allowance of £12,570. What that means is that anything below that amount per year, you can earn tax-free. So you can make under that amount and not pay any income tax at all. When you go above that amount, there's a bracket at 20%, so the amount for which you have to pay 20%. Then above that, it goes up to 40% and then 45%. Let's get into it a bit more so that you understand it better. Say, for example, you earn £500 a month. That means £6,000 a year, a little part-time job. You are under the 12,000 allowed, therefore you pay zero tax. You don't have to worry about income tax at all. It goes up to 1,000 per month, so 12,000 per year. Again, 12,000 per year, you're under the 12,570 allowance you have, you pay zero tax. Then let's say you have more of a full-time job, so you get a salary of slightly more, say 25,000 per year. Now you have used your £12,570 allowance, tax-free allowance, so that's still tax-free, but the remainder of the 25 grand salary you have to pay 20% on. So in this case, you're splitting it up. The remainder is £12,430 for obvious reasons. That's in the 20% bracket because the 20% bracket in England goes all the way up to just over 50 grand a year salary. And therefore you pay the 20% tax on this amount, just 2,486, and that's your overall tax bill for the year. Say a higher salary of 45,000, exactly the same. You're still under the £50,000 sort of bracket. You're still in the 20% bracket. Therefore, again, with a £45,000 salary, first 12.5k is your tax-free allowance, so that gets taxed at 0%. And then anything above that gets taxed at 20%. In this case, the remainder is 32,430. 20% tax, you're going to pay £6,486. So relatively straightforward. For this example here, let's say you're making £50,000, so you have your old and your new, and this is your salary, tax, and take-home pay. So your old salary is £50,000. That means you pay 7,486 in tax, and your take-home pay is 50,000 minus that amount is 42,000 £42,000. Then for the new one, your salary goes up. Say you get a 20% pay rise, so you take your salary of 50k, 20% pay rise, significant pay rise, very hard to get. You have to potentially switch jobs or get a promotion. You're up to £60,000. So you go up by 20%. If you're making £60,000, remember that you now have breached the 40% bracket. You are earning more than 50,270, so the remainder will be taxed at 40%. What that means is that your tax liability now increases to £11,432. So therefore your take-home pay is exactly that, £48,568. So you've got a 20%, you've gotten a 20% pay rise by working hard. However, your actual take-home pay, the pay rise is 14%. So that's obviously just an example. In England, when you go above this £50,270 amount per year, that's when you get taxed 40%. That's when you have to be more careful, because obviously paying 40% on any amount is going to be felt a lot more by you than the 20%. So hopefully that makes sense. It's all the brackets are here. Just to go through them again, you have a 0 to 12,000, 0 to 12,500, 0% tax, nothing. 12,500 to 50,000 pounds, you pay the 20% tax on. 50,000 to 125,000, you pay 40%, and if you make above 125,000, you actually start paying 45% on that bit extra. It's slightly different. There's a bit of a change when you go above 100k to your tax-free allowance. So we're not going to go into it in today's video, but I will make either a comment or another video on that. So England tax system is actually quite simple. I made another video on the Scottish tax system that you can view in here, and that's much more complicated. But hopefully that made you understand how things work with the England tax system, and hopefully that was useful.